Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Catherine Connolly. I'm the Community Relations and Engagement Coordinator with Seniors NL. Welcome to this week's Let's Talk About Quadrangle. I'll introduce our guest speakers in a few minutes. Sign language interpreting services for this session is provided by an inclusion grant from the Disability Policy Office, Department of Children, Seniors, and Social Development, to whom we are very grateful. Before I introduce the presenter, I'll go over a few housekeeping tips. Please mute your mic to block out any outside noise. The closed captioning button is on the bottom of the screen. You can certainly place your questions and comments in the chat, and we will have an opportunity for questions and answers later on through the session. Our education session today is being recorded, and if you have any presentation requests, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Barb, can you go ahead and read the land acknowledgement, please?
Good morning. We respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the ancestral homelands of the Beothuk, whose culture has now been erased forever. We also acknowledge the island of Uta-Umguk as the unceded traditional territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq. And we acknowledge Labrador as the traditional ancestral homelands of the Inuit of Nitassinan and the Inuit of Nunatsiavut and the Inuit of Nunatuavut. We recognize all First Peoples who were here before us, those who live with us now, and the 7 generations to come. As First Peoples have done since time immemorial, we strive to be responsible stewards of the land and to respect the cultures, ceremonies, and traditions of all who call it home. As we open our hearts and minds to the past, we commit ourselves to working in a spirit of truth and reconciliation to make a better future for all.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, I would like to introduce our guest speaker. So Lee, while I am reading out your introduction, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so you can go ahead and start sharing your slides. Lee is a transgender woman from Mount Pearl, Newfoundland and Labrador. Lee holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology and Folklore from Memorial University and is currently enrolled in MUN as a part-time student in the Bachelor of Education, post-secondary, as a second degree program. Lee has experience working with the 2SL LGBTQIA+ community, the disability community, and is passionate about human rights as well as diversity and inclusion. In her spare time, Lee enjoys hanging out with her Siamese cat named Sasha, thrifting for clothes, making casseroles, watching ghost hunting shows, and spending time with family and friends. Thank you so much, Lee. You can go ahead now and begin your presentation. We do see your screen. There you go. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thanks for having us. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Awesome. Yes, I'm a program facilitator with Quadrangle NL, and my role is also in partnership with an organization called Choices for Youth, because from the available data that Choices for Youth has, 26% of young people aged 16 to 29 in their programming are part of our community. And those are just young people that self-identify. So we think it's likely higher. It's a big reason why the partnership exists. And we've been able to connect a lot of support workers, for instance, to the programs that we offer. So young people at CFY have been able to avail of our programs as well. It's been a really cool partnership. And I have a video explaining in detail more about what Quadrangle NL is all about.
The idea behind Quad is just that the desire to have a community center for the province. That's something which a lot of people have been talking about for a really long time.
Having that dedicated space for the 2S LGBTQI+ community to go, to connect, to thrive, to find solutions for problems that we're facing, or to celebrate the things that we've triumphed over.
More than just a physical space, we need some sort of hub where local pride committees, where organizations like the Wabanaki Two-Spirit Alliance, women's centers, youth groups, health organizations can all connect.
We always have to start to create these spaces and then they keep being taken away from us.
In the late 80s, early 90s, it was a much different world. Homophobia was alive and well, as it is today, but it was more socially accepted, which propelled myself, and I know a lot of my peers, to remain in the closet. It was a dirty secret.
What made me more worried about coming back was the fact that I couldn't see a vibrant LGBTQ community, and I especially couldn't see it here in my hometown of Happy Valley Goose Bay.
A space such as Quad will offer opportunities for connection across the province, from the Avalon to up here in Labrador.
People in rural communities don't often get the chance to see queer people like them represented.
You know, I would hear, it's okay that you're gay, but don't be too feminine.
Rural communities, rural isolation encourages belonging for survival. You don't want to not belong. And when you don't have queer community, it makes it harder to step outside.
To be able to come to a place and say, hey, I can be me, it is very, very helpful, particularly for young people who are struggling and they're not sure and they're asking questions.
Some of the needs are similar no matter what your age is. You need information. You need to know you're not alone. You need to know that stereotypes you might have learned or seen different places aren't reflective of the community as a whole. And that's true whether you're coming out in your 60s or in your teens.
You know, in university is a place that I was really able to explore myself more and be more comfortable in my own skin. For folks who aren't going to university or don't have that space, it's so much harder.
Especially as an immigrant, I would say the first solid 2 years, it was very hard to get a sense of where to go. You don't know anyone.
Newcomers struggle with their language, struggle with job, and as well some of them need more education because if you don't even have education or good English, you go nowhere.
The queer spaces for people who also happen to be BIPOC don't really exist, so it would be nice to have one space where the entire queer community can come together and feel whole and supported regardless of our walks in life.
Having the accessibility for everybody to be able to participate in that so that we're actually fully inclusive as opposed to just like, oh yes, here's a community center, but these people can't, like literally can't get in.
I think it's important to have the alternative to the downtown kind of nightlife of the community for individuals who, first of all, can't participate in those things. So youth that are under the age of 19, or maybe it's an individual who is older and they don't want to be downtown. They want to go to a drag show, but they want to do it while drinking tea, not a beer.
We've seen the past few years that the queer community is so much larger, and having just a bar can't really address all those issues.
If you're not really within the community, you really don't understand the importance of actually like the flag outside on the door, or like it being there for a community run by folks in the community who really truly understand your experiences.
There are still so many people who are struggling every single day because they do not have a safe space. They do not have a place that is their own.
We know that the LGBTQI2+ community is well overrepresented amongst young people experiencing homelessness.
You have lack of access to resources, lack of access to healthcare, lack of access to community and friends and social support, which just continues, like perpetuates violence. It contributes to addiction, homelessness, rates of suicide.
And if we're all coming forward and saying, this is what we're seeing, like this is impeding people's well-being, this is dangerous, you need to change this, like more voices at the table.
We know what the crisis statistics are, right? But we can't define an entire community only according to what the crises are. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't leave any space for people and the ways that they reach for joy in their day.
Having these community centers available is going to provide people with the proper information that they need to learn about it. And like, I've seen like the hardest of hearts like melt and change perspective when they're like exposed to like a true understanding of what it is, you know?
The positives of queer representation and taking up space as queer people is endless.
Mentorship would be a really great idea of learning from each other. It's not just older people that have something to give, young people have something to give to us too.
I see it as an issue of reciprocity. So we provide support and they can share knowledge.
There's no manual that comes with this at all. Like you just kind of like are thrown in your existence of queerness and like, good luck with it all.
I want an environment where I'm surrounded by people who lived our lives speaking out.
Community's already doing the work. We have put the time and the effort into making the little funds we have go so far. If we were actually given the ability to reach our wildest dreams, there is so much more that can be done. We're at a point now where we need our governments to step in and support us instead of losing funding to bureaucracy and get it to helping the people where it's needed the most.
I see the gaps that are in services for the 2S LGBTQI+ community of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I also see community members who are doing a lot of community work, volunteer-based. That passion should be getting paid for. That passion should be validated by our governments.
It would really just be a way for them to show us that they care about us. They care about more than just us being alive in terms of like our human rights, but they care about our wellness and they care about our joy and they care about our love.
Social media posts isn't going to get us anywhere. People can't go to a social media post. They can't access it. They can't get support. It's not a warm hug. Thanks, but it's not enough.
A really tangible action to be able to do that would be to allow Quadrangle to really flourish and grow, specifically with operational funding that could sustain a space and a staff team to support queer, trans, two-spirit, and non-binary people across the province.
It's a lot less money to fund a community center and have that safety and prevention set up. That's going to increase the health and wellness of everybody in that community.
I'm so proud of what the organization has accomplished so far, and it's really in its infancy still, so there's so much more yet to be achieved.
I know that it's going to take a village to make this happen, but I see the opportunity for there to be shared energy expenditure. Some can rest while others hold each other up, and vice versa.
If anyone does want to help and support the Quad, there's a number of ways that people can do that. Talk to their MHA, talk to the ministers about us. If you're working at another organization, find ways that we can partner and work together. Because in the end, we're really wanting to build this together as a community, for the community. At this point, like even myself and others are not wanting to wait another 5 years for a center or a building or a space. We want that like yesterday.
Meet you at the Quad.
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 I really enjoy that video. First off, can folks hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. I really enjoy that video, Meet You at the Quad, because it really emphasizes what we're all about. We're about connection for our community, a communal space, a hub, a center where folks from our community can come together and access resources, connect socially, and ultimately be themselves amongst peers. So I would like to quickly go over what the 2S LGBTQIA+ acronym means, just for some context. So 2S, Two-Spirit, is a term that is used in an Indigenous context, and depending on the geographical location or the culture, it can vary, the definition can vary across space and place. But the few friends that I have that are Two-Spirit have explained it to me as a balance of masculine and feminine energy in the one person. And it is important to note that it can only be used in an Indigenous context. And the reason why it is at the beginning of the acronym is because historically Indigenous communities have been overlooked, and it's a way for us to really put them at the center of what we're all about as a community, because they have done so much work historically to elevate us as a community. Fun fact, the oldest community center for 2S LGBTQIA+ folks in the country is in Manitoba. And a big reason why it's flourished is because Indigenous folks have really championed our community, both those that are in the community and allies as well. It's been up and running for 50 years, I believe. So that's a cool fact. L stands for lesbian, so a woman who's attracted to another woman. Gay typically refers to men who are attracted to other men, but sometimes lesbians may use the term gay as well. It's about self-determination, a lot of these terms. Bisexual basically means anyone that is attracted to two or more genders. Transgender means anyone that their gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth. So, for instance, I was assigned male at birth and I identify as female. Queer and questioning the Q. So, queer is an umbrella term a lot of folks in our community use. So, for instance, a bisexual male might say, I'm queer, as an umbrella term, as a way to describe their identity. But it's important to note that it is a reclaimed word. So there are older generations that are used to the word queer as a slur. So if I'm in a situation where there is someone that says, I'm not comfortable with that word, I prefer to be labeled as gay, I just change my language. That's really important just to be aware. It's not a one size fits all. And then questioning, of course, anyone that's questioning their sexuality and gender. I really like to make a point that questioning is an identity within itself. I actually, about 6 months ago, added questioning to our intake forms. So we do a lot of our signups through Google Forms. And the question is, do you identify with the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, yes or no? That there used to be only the two options. And then I said I should really add questioning. And since I've added questioning, I've noticed a huge uptick in folks that have choose that as their answer. So it just really solidifies that questioning is a valid identity within itself, and it's okay to exist within that space. And then intersex is anyone that is born with hormonal, chromosomal, or like physical traits that are outside the male-female binary. So there are various medical conditions that exist where it's not as simple as just male or female. And then asexual is anyone that is they have very little to no attraction to someone else. And then plus represents all the other sexualities and genders under the queer umbrella. So for instance, pansexual. So pansexual refers to someone who is attracted to people regardless of their gender. They're attracted to the person. And then another one is agender. So agender folks don't identify with any gender at all. So there are a variety of identities that exist. So the plus is just representative of that, and it's to be inclusive. And it's really important to note that these identities have existed since humans have existed, and historically through various cultures, there is evidence that, you know, the 2S LGBTQI plus community has always been around. Really, we are, in a Western sense, gaining knowledge now around these terms. We're reclaiming our identities. So when folks ask, why is this acronym important? Why is language around sexuality and gender important? It's because a lot of folks historically haven't always had the language to explain their sexuality or gender identity. And we've seen that like through some of our programming. For instance, we've had a gender journeys support group in partnership with NL Health Services and LifeWise NL. And we got it off the ground with Jackie Butt, who's our provincial groups coordinator for NL Health Services. She's been amazing. We expected younger folks to be the target demographic, but we actually found that folks aged 30 to 60 were the ones that were most interested and signed up. So again, going back to, you know, these terms not being available 30, 40 years ago, and folks really struggling with finding the words to explain their identity. So that's why this terminology is so important right now in our society. And then going back to allyship, so be open to learning is a really big one. So I commend you all for being here today. I love doing these presentations in community settings. I think it's really wonderful that folks are so open to learning more and wanting to be an ally towards our community is really beautiful. Don't assume. So don't assume, for instance, that just because someone acts a certain way, that they would like to be labeled a certain way. Always ask a person how they identify. Think of ally as an action. So the way I like to think about it is you stand next to the person. You don't stand in front of them. You don't talk over them. You hold space for them and you're with them through the hard stuff. So for instance, I have a brother who happens to have a disability and we're really close. We're actually best friends, and he's older. He's my older brother, so we have that younger sibling, older sibling dynamic. But I never speak for him or speak over him because he can speak for himself. I am always there to support him through anything that he goes through, and I like his confidant in a lot of ways. If he has a hard day, if someone is not so nice to him, because of prejudice or discrimination, I'm there to help him through it type thing. And also educate folks around how to be inclusive and just a good human being towards people that are different from you. Confront your prejudices is an important one. Remember, language matters. Accept that you will mess up sometimes. So for instance, with pronouns, if someone uses they, them pronouns, and if you mess up, it's okay. Just apologize and move forward and use the person's correct pronouns next time. Mistakes happen. We're only human. As long as you're not intentionally like misgendering a person, we are generally very accepting that like folks will make mistakes. I think there's this narrative in the media sometimes that when it comes to transgender, non-binary, and gender diverse folks, that we can be easily offended when it comes to something like misgendering. And for the most part, if it's not intentional, we understand and we are very forgiving. On the bucket list in terms of like priorities, we care about equal access to employment and education. We care about like being safe walking down the street. That stuff is like high priority when it comes to misgendering, like unintentional. It's unfortunate, but like it's not something that is like a top priority, if that makes sense, in our lives. We have a lot more that we face in our daily lives. So as long as you own your mistake and you're willing to say, I made a mistake, I apologize, I'm going to use your correct pronouns from now on, generally we are fine. And then also check your privilege. So for instance, you know, I walk into a lot of rooms and I find that I'm not taken seriously, even in my professional role with Quad as a program facilitator, because I identify as a trans woman. A lot of folks aren't used to seeing someone like me in a professional sense. And when I was growing up, I didn't see a lot of folks like me either. So I didn't think I could work, and I wasn't sure if I could get a post-secondary education. I kind of had to pave my own way. So really just being open-minded and allowing folks to sit at the same table as you that look different from you. I like to say that if your friend circle looks exactly like you should probably expand your friend circle so you can learn more in regards to life. And I think that that's a good practice. Yeah. And then inclusion tips people. So leave personal biases at home. Uh, Refer folks to appropriate services and support. So for instance, if you had an individual in your life that was questioning their gender or sexual identity, you could always refer them to Quadrangle NL counseling line. We have a counseling line in partnership with Jacob Putterster Memorial Foundation that I'm going to get into later on in some of the slides. Honor names. So if someone tells you their name, make sure to use it. And also be aware that sometimes folks, when they are trans, non-binary, or gender diverse, their names might not always line up with their documentation, and that's, okay. I've been in situations where unfortunately I feel like I've been turned down actually from some jobs because my name doesn't match my legal name on my documents, which is really unfortunate. I like to think that I'm like a hard worker and I'm smart and I bring a lot to the table, but just realizing those nuances as well. If someone's name differs from their name on their documentation, it's not a huge deal. You can still use the name that they give you and be respectful. Don't out someone. So if someone comes to you in confidence and says, I'm questioning my gender or sexuality, or they come out as gay, bisexual, trans, or whatever the case may be, and they say, I've only told you, make sure that it stays between you and that person. That's so important. And the reason why not outing someone is important is because coming out looks different for everyone. And in talking with folks who have been outed, it can be detrimental to like their mental health, their physical health, their social well-being. It's up to them to decide when to come out, if at all. There are some folks that don't come out. There are some folks in our community that might not even identify with our community. Again, it's about self-determination. I like to say there's no right way to be 2S LGBTQIA+. I think that's really a really important point to make. Everyone's different, and that's okay. Don't post photos without permission. I think that's a good rule of thumb in general. Definitely in the social media world. Always ask before you post a picture of someone, like even in a group setting. And don't tokenize. So what we mean by that is, for instance, I was in a situation a few years ago when I worked in a retail setting, and I was asked to take a picture with a group of my female coworkers for International Women's Day. And I was so excited because I felt like seen and like respected, uh, as someone who is female. And right after the picture was taken, one of my colleagues immediately like misgendered me. And it was like a tough pill for me to swallow. And at the time I brushed it under the rug, but a couple weeks later, I brought it up to my colleague because I had a lot of respect for her, and as a person and a coworker, I really liked working with her, and I knew she didn't do it intentionally. So I just said, that hurt my feelings, and we had a good talk actually. And it went well, and like we're still friends to this day. So sometimes those tough conversations lead to better understanding. Yeah. And then inclusion tips spaces. So use people's correct pronouns that they share with you. I would also say within that to pay attention to email signatures. You wouldn't believe how many times I've been misgendered through email too, and I have my pronoun she, her in my email signature. So really just be aware. A lot of this stuff is about being aware and just being respectful as a to your fellow human beings. Use gender neutral language. So for instance, when someone forgets their keys and you don't know their name, you'll say, oh, they forgot their keys. I hope they come back. So we use gender neutral language in a lot of cases anyways. And then seek resources again. Quadrangle NL is a great resource when it comes to our counseling line or our community outings events, free events for the 2S LGBTQI plus community and our allies that foster social connection. Review and change policy. So in a HR sense, have like a living document, basically, where policies can be reviewed and changed to keep up with like your staff needs. Create visibility. So we have a visibility program actually where we're able to give out free merchandise across the province through the help of RBC Foundation funding. So like stickers, pins, magnets, keychains, and flags. And having these items like in a classroom or in an office space just allows folks to feel represented. So folks from our community, even like our allies. So again, going back to my brother, Matthew, every time he sees like a news story about our community, he'll share it with me in Facebook Messenger. And he's like a super proud ally, and he's like proud of the work I do and all that stuff. So when he sees like representation in a store like a pride flag, he's like, oh my God, Lee, I went to this store and it has a pride flag and it had a great vibe and I feel like you'd like this store. I'm just letting you know. So it matters to our allies as well in that regard. And it is a big thing for us when we're going about our daily lives. We hope that when we see that sign that says everyone is welcome with the rainbow or the pride flag, that when we walk into that store that they are accepting of our community. And then having strategies for when best practices are not used. And then developing a diversity and inclusion committee. So this could be in a community organization, nonprofit, it could be private sector even. So just developing a committee of diverse employees that are able to even hold events like during Pride. They could have an event or Black History Month in February, Women's Month in March. I've noticed that a lot of organizations are more on board with having events during these times, and it means a lot to employees, but also the general public. For instance, when someone sees that so-and-so's organization did an event during Women's Month and it's posted on social media, that means a lot to folks. Likewise, a Pride event means a lot to our community, like in a work context. You feel seen when your workplace takes, you seriously in that way. And now just getting into some programming. So our high tea program, it's offered every second Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Come say hi. It's a social gathering of the 2S LGBTQI plus community. And it's every second Sunday, as I mentioned, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's an open call for any member of our fabulous community to join our tea time, talk about your fave shows, maybe a new activity you are looking forward to, or just simply wanting to be around the community in a sit-down setting. Grab your tea, coffee, or beverage of choice, and let's talk for an hour together. please register via the link below. So we do pretty much all of our registration for our programming through Google Forms. And the cool thing about this particular program is a person only needs to register once. And I send out the email reminders every second Saturday. And we do a hybrid model. So we have it in person here at St. James United Church, which is where our Quadrangle NL is housed, in the basement of St. James United Church, 330 Elizabeth Avenue at St. John's. And we also offer it via Zoom. So we have folks that join from Labrador, Western Newfoundland, Northern Peninsula. It's always really fun. And it builds that social connection. We like to call it informal peer support. And then our Quadrangle NL visibility program. So needing items to show your pride, fill out our visibility program form today. And again, it's funded by RBC Foundation. We're really proud of our visibility program. Since we started it 2 years ago, we've given out 40,000 items across the province, which is mind-boggling, really. We've shipped boxes to Labrador, Northern Peninsula, West Coast. A lot of schools order, a lot of nonprofits, also individuals order. So we get a lot of mental health counselors that order, and anyone can order in that regard, and we'll ship them out across the province. We also have a lot of our visibility items at our tabling events, we call them. So for instance, we've been invited to resource fairs by MON. We've also been invited to a federal government DFO last year, invited us to their wellness day. That was really fun. So connecting with folks in the community and allowing them to take whatever items they want in regards to like a sticker, pin, magnet, keychain, or flag for like their office or their home. It's really cool to do that outreach, and we're able to talk about our programming, much like this presentation as well. So we love that outreach. And then the third program that I oversee is Wellness Wednesday. It's one-on-one peer support online from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Each session is 45 minutes each, and anyone can book their time. They can email me at lee@thequadnl.com. Also, I should mention that we do it in person at our Quadrangle NL Center. So again, 330 Elizabeth Avenue, St. John's. We can do it via Zoom. I've done it through Google Meets as well. I've also done it via phone call in the cases of folks not having access to internet, for example. We really like to hit home that our services are province-wide. They're for everyone in Newfoundland and Labrador that are part of our community. That's really important to us. So also in that vein, we do a lot of partnerships. So we have worked with St. John's Status of Women's Council to offer 2 phases of a community counseling program that has since closed, but 20 folks from our community were able to get up to 6 free sessions of community counseling, which is awesome. We've partnered with Writers NL and NL Public Libraries to bring drag story times across the province. So a lot of young families have come out to that, and they've been lovely. We've partnered with a lot of different organizations, even YWCA. So they have employment programming. So they're relaunch and launch programs. I've mentored folks from those employment programs, and they've been able to intern at our organization and see what it's like to work in a community-based work setting. And that's been amazing to provide that mentorship as well. And leading back to the peer support aspect, a lot of what I talk about is resilience. So growing up, I didn't see a lot of folks like me, as I mentioned, and I kind of had to carve my own way. I have 3 older brothers, and, you know, my parents were supportive, but they didn't really know what to do. So I had to find a lot of things out for myself. And unfortunately, I was bullied really bad in high school. I had to change high schools. I almost dropped out, but my nan, Bruce, my mom's mom, convinced me to stay. I couldn't say no to my nan. So she's a big reason why I'm here today. She's since passed, but we were really close. And she knew that I had what it took to complete high school. And I owe a lot to my nan. And yeah, I had to upgrade my high school at the Discovery Center because I missed out on my grade 12 math because I knew I wanted to get into Mon. And it all worked out, but it was a whole trajectory. And then when it comes to employment, I had a tough time. Looking back, I didn't realize it at the time, but looking back, I definitely dealt with, at the time, homophobia because I wasn't out as transgender. But I would go into interviews and folks wouldn't take me seriously and not really give me a shot. So I didn't get my first job until I was 20. And I really like to share that resilience piece with folks. If you want something bad enough, you can get there. And yeah, I'm really passionate about peer support in that regard. And again, online or in-person peer support. And the definition for peer support is here at the bottom. So peer support is emotional and practical support between two people who share a common experience, such as a mental health challenge or illness. A peer supporter has lived through that similar experience and is trained to support others. And then our community outings program are regular and free for all ages. They're community gatherings, so walks, picnics, our chosen family dinners, and more. The one that's really taken off is our chosen family dinners. We're really proud of it. We had our first one in December 2022. We fed 60 plus people. We had it at St. John's Farmers Market. John from Jewish Deli, who's a vendor at St. John's Farmers Market, did the food. So we had turkey, vegan, and vegetarian options. And we strung the table together so it was one long table at the St. John's Farmers Market space. And there was a moment where I looked down the table and everyone was just talking. No one was on their phone. And that was such a big deal for me as a program facilitator to see that human connection, especially coming out of COVID. It was an absolutely beautiful sight to behold. And since then, we've had more of these chosen family dinners. I would say that our most popular one is our holiday chosen family dinner. So folks that find it hard around the holidays, maybe unfortunately they don't have that family support, really are able to benefit from this community outing because they're in a space with folks from our community and our allies that's safe and they're able to just enjoy a free meal. And we've also been able to tie in some entertainment into these events as well. So as I mentioned prior, we've worked with Writers NL quite a bit. So this past chosen family dinner that we had in December, we were able to incorporate a drag story time because there were young families that came to the dinner in December. We fed 85 folks from our community, so and our allies as well. I like to say our allies because we do have friends that come to support their friends that are in the community. We have siblings that come and parents even, and it's really nice. We also have these icebreaker questions on the table. So like, for instance, what's your zodiac sign? What's your favorite TV show or movie at the moment? And it gets the conversation rolling for people that might not know folks at the event. And that was informed by one of our exit surveys. So folks wanted those icebreaker questions in instances where they didn't know a whole lot of people at an event. So a lot of our programming is influenced by what participants want and need. We do exit surveys for pretty much all of our community outings, and we take them really seriously. So a lot of our community outings have been informed by what participants would like to see, whether it's a movie night, an art night, that type of thing. And the chosen family dinners in particular have grown immensely. Like I mentioned, we fed 85 folks at St. John's Farmers Market. We were also able to have a chosen family dinner in Labrador with the help of Nicholas Messier, who's our Quadrangle NL board member and Labrador representative. In partnership with Safe Alliance, we were able to feed 21 folks there. And then in Corner Brook, we had a chosen family dinner as well. All this past December, all of these dinners. We were able to feed 40 plus folks. We had it at Grenfell campus. Quinn Jesso from the Community Mental Health Initiative helped with that, and also Ian Sutherland, who's the vice president of Grenfell campus, Memorial University. He is our Western Quadrangle NL board representative. It went really well. So we fed over 150 folks from our community and our allies this past December. We were really proud of that. So this coming year, during the holidays, who knows, it could be even bigger. We're all about, again, those partnerships to fill in the gaps in services when it comes to our community. And in a lot of cases, folks think that we're bigger than we are because we have so much on the go, but we're able to do so much because we partner with other community-based organizations to really fill in those gaps for services when it comes to our community. So again, we try to have one every month in regards to the community outings. These are free events for people and allies of the QS LGBTQI plus community. Some examples of past community outings include Trip to the Rooms Museum, The Art of Makeup, QS LGBTQI plus History Walk, Trans Day of Remembrance Vigil, and of course, Chosen Family Dinners. These events help to foster connectivity between people in the 2S LGBTQI plus community, and it allows them to have fun in a safe and inclusive environment, which is really important to us. And last year, we had over 1,000 instances of folks that availed of this community outings program across the province, which was amazing. Our outreach in that regard, we're really proud of. And then the Quadrangle NL and Jacob Putterster Memorial Foundation Counseling Line. We're also very proud of this program. We just got extended for another year, which we're really happy about. So it's by phone, video, text, or drop-in counseling service. Again, a partnership between Quad NL and Jacob Putterster Memorial Foundation. It's free counseling for 2S LGBTQIA plus individuals by 2S LGBTQIA plus counselors. And that is so important to us. All of our programming really is informed by that lived experience, whether we do an exit survey after an event and we try to incorporate what folks in our community want to see at our next event, or when it comes to peer support. All of our staff at Quad are part of our community, and we take that lived experience very seriously. So when it comes to the counselors, they not only have their professional designation, so like Certified Canadian Counselor designation, for instance, but they're part of our community. So they know what it's like probably to go into a mental health care setting and not get the support from a counselor in regards to the counselor understanding the lived experience. So it's really powerful when you can walk into a room and know that the counselor is part of the community, and it adds a level of safety that is very profound. And it's offered every Thursday and Friday between 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So there's 8 60-minute sessions each week. It's province-wide, again, by phone, video, text, or drop-in counseling. And our funders are Kindred Foundation, RBC Foundation, and United Way Newfoundland and Labrador. And the bookings are online. The best time to book is every Monday between 10 a.m. or 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sorry. They pick up really fast. They fill up really fast. So that's the best time to book. And it's important to note that they are single session counseling sessions. So it's not long-term counseling, but it is a great resource for folks in our community to avail of. And then quickly, some community testimonials. So why is Quadrangle's work so urgent and important right now? This person said more tangible actions are needed to ensure the 2S LGBTQI plus community of NL is heard, seen, uplifted, and supported. I am hopeful that Quadrangle will continue to address this need, including and beyond committing to developing a physical community center. And why is Quadrangle's work so urgent and important right now? This person said, since the pandemic, people who have been marginalized have experienced greater stress without the ability to gather within an accepting and supportive environment. Too many people have had to endure isolation without connection, and we may live in a remote region, but we do see the news. Given the events in other countries against diverse populations, we need to come together in ways that are visible. Given the events in other countries against diverse populations, we need to come together in visible ways to show that we live in accepting and supportive communities. And then again, some examples of our community events, our Chosen Family Dinner at St. John's Farmers Market and province-wide now. Last year, we did an event online called I Know My Workplace Rights. That was important for us to host, as a lot of folks in our community experience precarious work for various reasons. We had an ABC Life Literacy event at the Rooms. They invited us, and we were able to gather folks from our community to have really a panel discussion on what it would take to make the rooms more inclusive for our community. So for instance, the Rooms doesn't have gender neutral bathrooms, which is a barrier for some folks in our community that may feel like when they're at the Rooms, they can't use the washroom because there's no gender neutral option, which is unfortunate. So just talks around that, and hopefully those talks lead to greater change within our society. And then we had a Love is Love St. John's Farmers Market Fast Friends Community Mingle. It was February 2023. It was like it was speed dating, but it was like to make friends. It was really sweet. We had 20 people show up for that. The Untold History of Queer Persecution in World War I at the Rooms. So that was in partnership with the NL Queer Research Initiative. They have a whole archive on our community. They're on social media as well. They do amazing work. And then we had Queer Zine Night, an art event at Gower Street United Church. That was last year prior to us securing our location at St. James United Church. Gower Street United Church has been really lovely towards us as well. We had 60 people for that event, and it was in partnership with Eastern Edge Gallery, Art Gallery. It went really well. And then this is an example of our Chosen Family Dinner. So as you can see, the big long table, folks from our community and our allies all together eating John's beautiful food. And that's John there on the right, doing up the plates. He does amazing food. He's a great chef. And the theme for this year was blue. In terms of the decor, I always like to have a theme and make it look pretty. And again, it's kind of hard to make out, but they're the little tins there. They have the icebreaker questions, like what's your zodiac sign, what's your favorite foods, what's your favorite season, just to help foster connection amongst folks that maybe don't know anyone at the event. And then this is an example of our visibility program merchandise. So our pins and our flags. So the Q obviously represents our logo. The heart represents the pride flag. And the colors in the pride flag, this is the newest iteration of the pride flag. So the yellow with the purple circle represents the intersex community. The white, pink, and blue, the lighter colors next to it, represent trans, non-binary, and gender diverse folks. The black and brown represent Indigenous, Black, Brown, and Latinx contributions to our community that have historically been overlooked. So, for instance, Marsha P. Johnson, a trans woman of color from the US, was pivotal in the Stonewall riots back in the day. And that's a big reason why we have a lot of our rights in the Western world that translated into Canada as well. And it's important to acknowledge those folks when we talk about our community. And then the red represents life, orange represents healing, yellow represents sunlight, green represents nature, blue represents serenity or calmness, and purple represents spirit. I think that's my favorite one, spirit. And then, of course, we have a variety of other flags as well. So the one at the very top here, it's like a pink, purple, and blue. That's the bisexual flag. The one that's pink, yellow, and a lighter blue, that one is pansexual. So folks that are attracted to anyone regardless of gender, they're attracted to the person. The fist that you see there is in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. And we added the pride colors. So of course the Black Lives Matter movement is advocating for rights of Black and Brown folks in America and around the world, just the unjust things that those communities face in regard to police brutality. And then the flag with the purple, white, gray, and black is asexual, so folks that have little to no attraction to other folks. So pretty much every identity that I mentioned earlier has a corresponding flag, which is lovely. And we try our best to make sure that those flags are visible within our visibility program. So we have even more to add, which we're looking forward to in the future. And now some quick facts regarding our organization, Quadrangle NL. Most of our funding is through limited federal grants, donors, and fundraising events. In 2023, we secured provincial funding through the National Plan to End Gender-Based Violence, to hire an outreach worker, fund development professional, and executive director for 4 years. We have given away close to 40,000 merchandise items across NL via our visibility program. As I mentioned earlier, we're super proud of that. During our letter campaign, we had 300 letters submitted to the provincial government around Quadrangle NL having a dedicated community space. And we're proud to say that we have officially secured our first rental space located at 330 Elizabeth Avenue, St. John's, that opened last summer. And I did up the tally yesterday because I was curious. We have a tracker in regards to drop-ins. So folks that drop into the center, we've had over 700 drop-ins since we've opened. So that's folks from our community and our allies. I've also given tours to mental health professionals. I had an MSW student a couple weeks ago wanting a tour of our space because they're really invested in wanting to be an advocate and ally for our community in their practice, which was lovely. So yeah, we're very proud of our first rental space. It's a great first step. The story behind how we got the space is lovely too. Reverend James, he's part of our community, and he found out that we didn't have a space. And he said, we have space here. So now we're in the basement of St. James United Church. And we've been able to do a lot of different programming out of here. We recently had a chill night as part of our trans navigator program. So that's separate from the programs that I oversee, but we do have a trans support navigator that's been hired to support trans, non-binary, and gender diverse folks in our community. So we were able to have a night just for that community for folks to come by. And we had crafts. So there were some folks that did arts and crafts. We also have a TV with Disney Plus. So some folks watched whatever they wanted on TV. Some did puzzles. And we also played Pictionary, which was really fun. So matching up what someone draws and trying to figure out what it potentially is. And we had 13 folks for that night. That was our first one. We were really happy with that. So again, the positive impacts of having a secure rental space, and it's also safe as well, and in an affirming church. And then this is our space. So my coworker Holland is there. They are a research officer. And then we have this fun rug that inadvertently matches our logo. I don't think it was on purpose, but I think it's amazing that it kind of matches our logo, our Q. We also have books here as part of our Octagon Library. So it's a partnership again with NL Queer Research Initiative. So anyone can sign up and check out books. So we have books, nonfiction, fiction relating to our community. We have sexual health books. We also have books that are geared more towards like inclusion and diversity for young people. So for instance, stories about like how being different is okay. And it might use like an example of this whale has pink polka dots and the rest of the whales are blue, and the whale might feel left out, but at the end everyone realizes that they're all whales and they can all be friends type thing. It doesn't matter that they might have differences, like stories like that that promote anti-bullying as well, which is really important in the K-12 system. I should mention that when I have done any outreach in junior high or high schools, because sometimes we table at events giving out our merchandise, it seems as though it's becoming less and less acceptable for young people to bully other young people based on their sexuality or gender, which is really amazing to see. I only graduated in 2012, and as I said, I experienced so much bullying that it changed the trajectory of my, educational journey, even because I had to upgrade my high school through the Discovery Center. But a lot of young students in that regard realize that it's not cool to bully other students based on their gender and sexuality. And it's been so enlightening for me to see. I never thought that I'd like see that with my own eyes. It's been a full circle moment. So we love doing that kind of outreach as well and promoting like anti-bullying in the school system, even, in organizations. When I do presentations like this, everyone is human and we all deserve respect. And that's my presentation. If anyone has any questions regarding the presentation, the programs that we offer, what Quadrangle NL is all about, I certainly have time to answer any. And likewise, my email is lee@thequadnl.com. If anyone has any follow-ups that they'd like to share as well.
Thank you so much, Lee, for this fantastic presentation. I know I've learned so much. I actually have a lot of notes wrote down here with your different programs, which I will welcome the opportunity to speak with you later on how we can help spread the word that these programs are out there and made available. We did have one comment placed in the chat. We had a participant that had to leave, and our comment Her comment was, "What a great presentation. Good work, Lee. I hate to leave, but I have another appointment that she was unable to miss. I'll be looking forward to the rest of the session, and she's going to view the recording once we send that out."
Oh, that's so sweet.
So, yeah. We had a question, and this is going to be open now for everybody if you have any questions specifically for Lee. We did have a question during registration, and it said, "How can a person become an ally and an advocate of Quadrangle on a professional and a personal level?" And I'm going to
Yeah.
share my screen now as well while you answer that.
I would say when it comes to advocating for us as an organization, looking for ways to partner is a huge one, as I mentioned. When it comes to the programs and services that we offer, we're able to do so much because we are collaborative. Charlie likes to mention that we want to break down that silo effect. Oftentimes, whether it's in government or nonprofit or community-based settings, folks are so used to working in those silos, which is fine to a certain degree, but when you break them down and you collaborate, you're able to really offer more services and programs. So we're always willing to talk to any individuals or groups in regards to partnerships. I would also say when it comes to our social media, we're very active. So our Instagram and Facebook, we share everything relating to like our community outing events. If there's someone that drops out of a counseling session at Jacob Patterson Memorial Foundation, because it's bound to happen sometimes. People are busy with like life things. We always make sure to post that there's an opening available, and it usually gets filled just like that. So we're very active on our social media. And regarding anything that we're doing, we're always sharing something. And to be an ally, I would say one of the most important things I believe is to have an open mind, which all of you folks have shown up today, and you've been open-minded to hearing what Quadrangle NL is all about, and even hearing some of my lived experience. I like to talk about my lived experience because I think it hopefully helps folks realize that, yes, we do face adversity in a lot of ways, but as Elsa mentioned in the Meet You at the Quad video, we can't be defined by our crisis statistics alone. So the things that I've gone through in my life that were hard, I use now in my role as program facilitator with Quadrangle and Choices for Youth to empower folks in our community to live their best life, to be themselves, to go after any goals that they want out of life. And I love that mentorship aspect as well. That's part of my job. So, yeah, I think showing up today is one of the best examples of being an ally and just having an open mind. I think is really beautiful and can foster change because it allows folks to see what Quadrangle NL is all about in terms of our programs and services. So hopefully, if anyone on this Zoom call has someone in their life, whether it be, you know, a niece, nephew, friend, neighbor that maybe is part of our community or questioning their identity, I would hope that you'd feel comfortable enough to offer Quadrangle NL as a resource type thing. I think that really, yeah, sums up allyship.
It does. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you to send me the follow-up of what you just said so I can include it in the email when I send that out to everybody as a
Yeah.
follow-up to the session with the recorded link, with the link for the recording. Yeah. And Lee, you're very inspiring. So I just want to kind of say thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you. I think the work that you folks do at Seniors NL has been so phenomenal, and I really appreciate the work that you do too, Catherine, and you've been so kind to us. We've met at various resource table events, and You're so kind, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Lee or Charlie? Any comments? Any additional information people would like to have? Anything else that you would like to add, Lee? And Charlie, that's open for you as well, if there's anything that you would like to add.
No, I would just like to say, I'm sure Lee's already said this. I was on an emergency phone call out of nowhere. That's why my camera went off. No, just thank you again for inviting us and allowing us to talk about what we do and the importance of allyship and the importance of investing in the 2S LGBTQI+ community of Newfoundland and Labrador and the general 2S LGBTQI population of our globe. It's just really nice to be able to connect and share what we're doing and give people the knowledge to show exactly what the community is about, what we're trying to do, and really potentially combat some of that misinformation and hate that we're currently seeing within the community, or towards the community, I should say. Yeah, so thank you again.
You are more than welcome. If there's anything that I'm sure anybody here on this call can say, if there's anything that we can help with, we are here. Just as well as you're here to help us with everything. So I will actually just go to my next slide just to let people know that our next session will be on April the 3rd, and it's going to be Just Ask Seniors NL Anything, which is a very popular session. We have a lot of questions that are asked during registration, as well as on the call as well with specific questions. So it's I encourage everybody to join. And then on April the 17th, we're going to talk about Newfoundland and Labrador Public Libraries, digital literacy for seniors. So again, we're going to have a phenomenal couple of sessions coming up, so stay tuned for the other sessions. So I will ask the question again. Is there any questions, comments that anybody would like to take themselves off mute and ask? And I'm going to ask my colleague Barb to have a look at the chat. So she can let me know if there is anything there, because where I've changed over screens now, unfortunately, I can't see that. I will be following up with everybody who has registered and everybody on this call with the recording, the link to the recording, along with the follow-up with additional information from Lee and Charlie. And if you are viewing this recorded session online and you would like the follow-up email, all you have to do is send me an email at outreach@seniorsnl.ca. Our number, yes.
There's
Yep,
no
no, go ahead.
questions, only the one you mentioned.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Our number is listed on the screen there. You can give us a call anytime at all, Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. Our email is there along with on our website. And just to kind of reiterate, we are all on social media, so please follow us as well on Facebook and Twitter.
I did have an exit survey. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes. No, go ahead.
I did have an exit survey that we give out after our presentations. Would you prefer that I send it to you, Catherine, by email, or I could send it in the chat, whatever works?
I think you send it to me in an email. I will send it in the chat afterwards,
Awesome.
because people that register who weren't able to attend could view the recording online after and then do the survey.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are very welcome. And once again, thanks everybody and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.